was getting feedback, so I.
Okay. Yeah, we want to see that. Thank you.
That was something else. Was getting feedback, so I.
Yeah, we want to see that. Thank you.
That was something else. Something else.
We don't
Some
need
share feedback, so I.
Did us?
Okay. Okay. Somebody want to wait.
We need you to.
Okay, that's what.
I don't think.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, good point. Okay. Get it back up.
Sounds good now.
All right. Okay, okay. There it is. All right.
Okay, Mr. Seaby, you're on.
Okay, the second project.
Oh, scroll up a little bit for me, would you? Just scroll up so that that first item is no longer displayed on the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right, there we go. Go ahead.
Okay, so the second project, administration building roof and masonry, as you can see, the interior work is complete at SPS. The masonry work is substantially complete on the outside of the building. Skylights are expected to be delivered shortly. And the flat roof reconstruction is ongoing. The pitch roof, I believe, is 100% complete. So we're in pretty good shape and we're kind of winding down on that project at this point.
Good.
IB Elementary capital, phase 1 capital. So we had a meeting with RWE as to exactly what controls work they were going to finally be able to capture as part of the energy performance contract and what we were going to have to keep in the bond and what we could eliminate in the bond. So you'll see a couple of those mentioned in the next 3 or 4 categories here. So at Highview, the control work will not be deleted from the mechanical contract because the control work we had in there is not captured as part of the EPC. So we have left it in as part of the capital project. It'll be done as part of that. So we're in good shape there. And the fire rated glass is scheduled to be installed by the EPC once the material arrives on site. At Jackson, there we were able to delete the controls work from the mechanical contract. So that's going to be taken back as part of a deed up change order to the mechanical contractor because the work is going to be done as part of the energy performance contract. So that's good. A lot of the other work is going to start after the heating season ends, which is approximately mid-May. We don't want to take the heating system down prior to then in case we get a cool morning and you need to take the chill off of the building. So that's that. Bailey Elementary School, the flooring abatement was completed over the spring break and the new flooring was installed. Again, the balance of the work, which is a lot of work at Bailey, all new unit ventilators going into that building, will start after the heating season, approximately mid-May. New mechanical equipment ceiling mounted has been laid out and the openings are going to be made this summer because of the noise and dust associated with it once the installation of the equipment progresses. At the middle school, high school, middle school, phase 1 capital. So again, we will leave the controls work in at that building that we had. They are not picking that up as part of the EPC. So it's be done as originally planned as part of that capital project. And the door installation, we're just waiting for the material to arrive on site. And once that happens, the doors will be installed. At the ECP building, the floor abatement was completed over the spring break and new flooring was installed. And the heating work, the rest of that heating work has been, and the bathrooms there have been rescheduled for the summer of 2023 because of concerns with taking bathrooms out of service. They were concerned that they would not be able to function properly.
I should mention at this point that there's some pictures on Google Drive for the members that that you can take a look at if you want to see the flooring. They had to go through a leveling process for a short time. You had a cement floor for like a day. They had a rug over it most of the time until then they put the new flooring in. So we're good.
on Bailey Auditorium. So the documents are 90% complete on our end. The SHPO, meaning Historic Preservation, has been received. So we're in good shape with that. SECRA, Environmental Quality Review, that still has to be run through the Board of Education in order for us to use that as part of the SED submission. So I don't know if you could scroll down.
I think we did that. at the
That's
28
already
meeting number
done,
28.
Fred, and I'm
We're good.
gonna get that from the district clerk and I will get it to Mike.
Something.
The secret, right?
No, just keep scrolling down, go back to that. No,
Go back, there's a page
I
two
just
of the
keep
document.
scrolling down.
Okay, so this
No,
one.
not
No.
that, just scroll down.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, good.
Make it bigger.
The tennis courts, we did go look at the tennis courts. We have submitted a letter of intent to State Education Department to let them know that's a potential project. It could be coming. We have ascertained that the courts cannot be resurfaced. There is structural damage to those courts and the base is not proper. So therefore, it would be a complete removal and replacement. We cannot use the existing surfacing there. It may require a topo survey in order to check grades and drainage and things like that. So as of right now, we have the schematic design on hold, awaiting further direction from the district.
Because we,
Right, you have to have money.
I believe we have provided estimated costs on all of that to the district a couple of times. So just give us direction as to how you want us to proceed.
We need to figure out how to put a project together with funds. So the tennis court is not.
do you have the estimates that you gave us?
Yes, we do have estimating. We can show you the estimates.
Not the discussion, the estimates. You show me the estimates.
Yes, we can show you. the estimates.
Okay. I'd like us to at least start the process of moving forward. So not just leave it as a closet.
Right, so what was happening, the last thing that was happening was that they were waiting on the state budget. Oh, you were here. So we were waiting on the New York State budget, right? So that you have the new assemblywoman who put something from our list of recommendations into the budget, and we see if it makes it through. If the budget gets approved, the New York State budget gets approved, and we come back with a piece of aid, then we've got our sort of nest egg that will at least partially fund the tennis court. If we don't have that, then we have to figure out what we want to do.
What were the high and the low points of the estimate? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Do
You
you have
I
them?
believe it was 350 to 400,000.
350, 400, thank you.
Depending on drainage and fencing
And
and other contingencies that, a lot of it was the,
Asbestos removal.
Well, not this, yeah. The removal of everything.
okay, thank you.
Next project is the running track, middle school, high school. We have not submitted a letter of intent yet, just because we just need to confirm final scope of work. We did visit that track, and the good news is that the base layer, the asphalt, is in good condition. It does need some minor repair, but it does not need to be taken up and redone. You want to pay at a rubberized track surface on top of it over the existing asphalt, which keeps the cost down. While we were there, we did look at the synthetic turf field, and the recommendations of our landscape architect is that the district consider replacement of that turf at some point. It's showing signs of wear and is nearing end of life. We also provided a budget for adding 2 additional running track lanes, which was requested by the district. And we're kind of on hold right now, just waiting direction as to which way you want to go.
Just a moment. All right, the board president wants to say something. Go ahead.
So I'm sorry, you said that the whole track would not have to come up and you would put overlay over it?
Yes, so the existing asphalt is stable and it's in good shape. It's an asphalt track. That's the surface that they run on now.
I'm
We
not
can
concerned
use that
about
as
the
base.
stability. I'm not concerned about the stability of the physical track. I'm concerned about the ability for children to run on it and not harm themselves physiologically. So who's checking that out? Is that part of your assessment of just overlaying on top of what we have existing?
So yes, that's part of our assessment. So we would overlay a rubberized running surface so that they're not running on asphalt anymore. They would be running on a cushion material, which is what's typically done on high school and middle school tracks when they put new tracks in. So the fortunate thing is that you can leave the asphalt. It's a solid base. It's in good shape. It only needs minor repair. So you're saving a tremendous amount of money, and you would just then put the rubberized surface on top of that existing asphalt.
What's the rubberized surface that you're planning to lay?
It's a track surfacing material. So it's small granules that get sprayed on. Everything gets adhered, and then you get a color coat that gets put on top of it, and then the track
Right.
gets on.
So it's a spray, so it's the lower grade?
Yes, the rubber, it's like chopped up rubber. It's what we use on all of our running
The
tracks.
lower grade, so who chose the lower grade for our students?
The scope hasn't been done yet. They're just designing it now.
Are you gonna give us options on what type of material to put overlay on top of the asphalt?
Sure.
See, my issue, first of all, I'm not a building person. I'm always shocked at how many different assessments have to be done when it's time to actually do something. But this was done before. You had a whole project, we, the board, the district had a whole project and built a track before. And then later there was an issue with the students running on the track. So I'm trying to prevent that by asking more questions ahead of time.
Okay, so we can get you cuts on the material that we would typically specify. We've done probably between 50 and 75 running tracks with this material. And we can also get you a sample of it if you want.
So did the board in the past, and I'm just looking to you, Mr. Warner, I don't know if Trustee Warner, I don't know if you were here when they built the track last time. Did they do this whole process and just happened to be an issue that no one foresaw, or what happened?
I think I came online at about the point that they were installing the AstroTurf field in the middle of the track. I did not have any involvement. I was not on a facilities committee. The last time anybody did anything to the Woodlands track.
Okay. All right, so you'll provide us with, you'll give us more than one point of information.
So multiple grades,
Right,
since.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would also like,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would also like to say that when and if the design moves forward, I'd like to make sure you guys are including the track coaches and or the athletic director.
When we do what, striping and
No. When it comes to making some of these choices,
Selections,
and or whether we are inviting them to a committee meeting where it's being discussed, or I'm not sure.
Okay.
as we get into the design, we decide to move ahead, we would absolutely get the athletic director and the coaches involved. Yes.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, continue.
Next project is Highview, the partial window replacement. So again, the construction documents are approximately 90% complete at this point. As we stated previously, the preliminary budget is the $450,000. So we're going to need both SHPO and SECRA done prior to SEG submission. So we're getting closer to that point now. I don't know if Lisa Raymond has gone to EnviroScience on SECRA at this point or SHPO yet, but we can get that process started if we.
We have it. We already have it.
We have the secret, we're awaiting the secret,
Right.
secret on the window project.
Okay. Next up is the fire hydrant project. That is almost complete as well. The preliminary budget was $815. And again, we will need to do SECRA on that as well.
Is there any indication that the cost is going up significantly?
Not yet. We are having geotechnical work done there to determine how much rock is under the surface and how much of that we're going to be dealing with. And I think that was our biggest concern. So we hired a geotech
For the
firm.
rock testing, I thought the rock testing was already done. No?
The testing was done out in the field. I have not seen the report yet, though.
Oh, okay.
I just feel like we waited like a year for the survey to be done.
The survey was
I think
done.
around we had to wait a little bit. for the
Everything
geotechnical stuff,
Takes
don't they?
longer than you want it to.
I get it.
It's
but-
always true.
District.
Okay,
If there were a lot of rock under the surface there and there was going to be a lot of chopping, we wanted to make sure that we worked that into the documents so that there wasn't a large change order later on. So we actually hired the geotechnical consultant. The survey was done, so the design is pretty well done. We just want to confirm that prior to going out to bid.
So then to move forward, you're only, besides waiting for that report, you're only waiting for the secret or
Yes.
what?
So the report can actually come back after it goes to the state. We're really just waiting on the secret right now. And so once we get that, we can send that up to the state. And then once we get the geotech, we might have to adjust the scope a little bit. We'll have to see, but that's more of a bid type item rather than in a CD approval type item.
so secret, that's about a couple of weeks and we're done, correct? And we're ready.
It says
A
here
couple
board
of weeks?
resolution is
Yes.
needed. It says here board resolution is needed. Did we not do something with that?
Well, you have to
I thought
approve
we
a
did.
secret.
No, you need to approve the secret. Once it's done.
So we have
then-
to get the report and then approve it.
Okay, but it also says here for the funding. I thought we did that. Okay.
Is the secret done in a few weeks?
No, that should be a few weeks.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, well, energy performance contract, is there anything that we haven't already gone over?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered all of that.
I think we covered that one. Okay, very good. Any further questions from anyone on this report? Thank you. Okay, so
Can we
that
see everybody?
exhausts item 6.
Is there a way you can see everybody? I don't want somebody to be out there.
Let's see.
Many people on this call.
Yeah,
Okay.
7, okay.
Um,
Grade level reconfiguration plans. We had this idea that we were going to see if we had any existing records or ways of figuring out whether or not the whole migration from grade to grade would work without going out and getting somebody to do a new $26,000 study. Were we able to find anything?
No.
We were not able to find any existing studies.
Couldn't find anything anywhere.
Okay. I would prefer it if we were to recommend to the board that we go forward and fund a study. What do other people think about this?
What would the study do exactly, David?
It's a utilization study to look to see if just our space and connection to classes and enrollment, and it gives information around the efficiency of it. David probably, Dennis can probably explain it more, but as we're looking to possibly reconfigure and move grades up, it gives us information on that capacity to do that.
Is it gonna give us something more than if we went around to the room and counted rooms and space?
Dennis, do you have?
Typically, Fred, you probably know more about this than me, but it's usually more advanced, typically architects perform the study.
Yeah.
They look at the size of the building, the spaces that might have changed over the years. Typically, years ago, students might have 32 kids in a room. Now you put some technology in, there's computers, there's desks. The
You get 27 in instead, right?
It might have changed a little bit over the years.
Well, we have a maximum amount of students we can put in rooms, so 32 is not happening anyway. But what I'm saying is, physically walk around, we need to pay architects, we can pay an outside company $26,000 to do. We literally cannot walk around and see if there's additional rooms or not, if
I'm not sure exactly what the spacing of, how many students per occupancy.
But it's,
per space.
to repeat what trustee Reyes has just said, though, it's not just about how many people can we fit in a space as per utilization. It's, we
It's
have
also the
contractual
teacher-
maximums that can be in a classroom per our union contracts.
It looks at the capacity of
really
every
what you're trying to
venue
do.
in the building, every area of the building, the cafeteria, how many, it looks at all the spaces that kids occupy, since there'll be more kids in the building. So, it sounds simple. I think it's just more comprehensive than that. Is there a way, Dennis, we can kind of get a scope of what it exactly will be in this study before, and bring that back to the board? Other than
I
just
have-
looking at
I have
class.
like the proposal from BDS here,
Oh,
it's,
BBS.
how they research the NYSED, like the spatial regulations, typically it's a layman would know with just a tape measure.
I'm sorry, so BBS is recommending that we hire and pay probably about $30,000, 26 something
26,830.
Every time.
26,830.
every time we do it. So they're recommending a company that we hire to do this.
The architect,
Or the-
They're recommending themselves.
Oh, that we pay them an
Yes, they
additional.
can.
yes, they typically an architectural firm performs this study like this.
Didn't we have something like this before?
That's what I
That's what we
said.
cannot find.
From my,
Wait. We can't find it, but BBS did it before. No?
We've changed architecture.
But if it's under CSR, surely we have it. When we,
Is in the business office, can we call CSR to say, give us the report we paid for? I don't
meetings,
understand.
this has been discussed, so.
I mean, listen, compared to what we pay, I'm not trying to count pennies, but $26,000 is a lot of money. A few times of doing that, and we could have, gotten something else that.
do we have any idea
that
like
we
when the last study was done, or was it
Well, we
10
know,
years ago? Or
we know
was it in
this massive reconfiguration bond that failed, and that there were studies done leading up to that,
2018-ish?
about that.
reach out?
Okay, so we're not ready to recommend yet, so we'll make an attempt at getting something from CSR.
And I agree with you about the layman thing. I'm not saying that
Wait.
like, we shouldn't, I'm not saying don't hire experts when you need them. I'm just wondering, has there been a really just unofficial eyeing of it? Have you gone around to each building and actually?
We've looked and you say typically how many students, were in this building at one time. This building was probably made to accommodate
This building.
1,000 something students.
1,100.
But what's changed over the years,
35 kids
you know?
per
You
class.
need to look at the fire codes and all of that.
Right.
Some of that
It's-
is known maximums, between the unions and the fire code and that.
Walter Simon? Mr. Simon? I think his button's not responding.
Maybe, oh,
No, go ahead.
On the utilization, a big issue for this district has always been the number of changes that children have to do. And, consolidation would have changed that, but, that's something that's off the table, at least for now. But at least to say, what would it take with the current number of buildings to decrease the the times a child have to change building? Would that be part of a study? Or could it be part of a study?
Well, I would say that the configuration that the superintendent put forth at the last meeting, if you're not changing from ECP to Leo Jackson anymore, because you're already there, then you reduce the number of changes by 1. Okay, so that's like an incremental, you're not all the way there, an incremental improvement.
But wasn't there 4 changes? We had 5 before?
P, LFJ, Highview, RJB, Woodlands, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 changes. And if you combine the two, now you're down to 3. You're at 4 changes, and now you're down to 3.
Okay, then that's it. Okay, good. Okay, because I thought it was the same number. Okay, good. It was a reduction. Thank you.
Sure. Katie McGee?
I like the idea of being thorough, like about having a utilization study by professionals, because I feel like it'll be thorough, it would be done by people who have done them before, I take it. But I mean, I don't know anything about the costs relative to, I don't know, I would be interested in asking other districts or seeing if anyone in the area has done these recently. Have they reconfigured their districts, in the last decade? Was it worthwhile and all that stuff? Maybe do a little research on that. But I could see what I wouldn't want to happen is us not to do something with professionals, do it on our own in-house, and then have problems later when it's all said and done, that there's mistakes or overcrowding or whatever it would be, and then people say, well, why didn't you?
So if we find a CS Arch study, it'll be by another set of professional architects, in which case we're golden. If not, then you're recommending that we go.
Can I ask a question? Are you positive it was done by CSR?
Yeah, that's who we have,
That's who we have? Okay.
right? Or me, Marcy.
Okay.
Me.
No, I mean, it narrowed it down who it was. Okay.
Did it change
It's
at some point?
it was CS Arch at the time.
And just about that possible utilization study that might have been done in 2018, that was with an eye for consolidation, for taking grades away from Woodlands and putting them, right, not adding grades, not adding 6th grade to Woodlands. It was like taking it away. So I'm just saying, when it would have a different spin on what they were looking to look at.
Yeah, definitely. But I still don't understand, why would that cost $26,000 to walk through the buildings? Like, yeah, we need like an explanation. BBR, isn't BBR still on the call?
ABS.
Sorry, BBS, still on the call.
I'm not familiar with the study and the pricing. That might be something that we can do for a lot less money. If you want to send that to me, I can take a look at it and we can evaluate it.
You got.
Is this BBS who gave us?
Yeah.
So this is a quote from BBS Architects. So someone else in your firm.
Was that from Kevin Walsh?
Let's see, Mike
Mike
Messina?
Messina.
Mike Messina. Okay, so then if I'm thinking correctly, that is walking through every classroom in the district. It's identifying what that classroom gets used for. It's rating the occupancy of each of the buildings. It's looking at how you occupy the buildings, the percentage that you get, and usually we shoot for about 80% occupancy so that you have flexibility in class change and specials. So it's a complete analysis of all of your buildings to tell you how you're doing, where you have space, where you don't have space. And I think that was in mind because of the whole ECP and where can it fit? And if we move kids out of Jackson, can we fit ECP in there? And how does that all happen? So I believe that was the impetus behind that study and that estimate, and that's what it represents. Mike would know better than I. Kevin Walsh of our office is the one that actually does those. And we've done those for a lot of districts, but I think it was really, do we need an addition for ECP if we're going to bring them back, and where can we put them? And, do you have space somewhere else in your other buildings that you could push people out and make that happen? So I think that's what that fee represents.
The configuration we were talking about at the last meeting was that we're going to move each grade level up by 1, and you'd end up with, when you got to Woodlands, instead of being 7 through 12, it would be 6 through 12, because everybody would have moved 1 grade level up. So it affects all buildings.
But all of the ECP students will be housed in one building. And so the ECP main building on the campus right now will be used for possibly some office space. But Jackson then will become pre-KK. And with some additional space where we have room for growth. And we would put first grade out of Jackson, and Highview becomes grades 1 and 2. And take third grade out of Highview, and Bailey becomes 3, 4, 5. So more of the intermediate school. And the reconfiguration of middle school, which is many districts have that, this configuration of 6, 7, 8. And then the high school remains what it is, 9 through 12. So our enrollment is increasing. We are up to 17.2. We were around 1,685. About a couple of months ago, we're already now at 1702. So we are increasing in our numbers. And this was to look at, the study was to look to see when we do this, will there be that potential for, as our enrollment is growing, for that growth to be able to accommodate that growth. Right now, with the structure we have with ECP, we are very limited on how many students we can take in. We even have those on waiting lists. We don't right now get full funding because we just don't have the space for the students and the families in our community who want to be a part of our program. This reconfiguration, we see it as a way that we will be able to capitalize on increasing our enrollment with our ECP program and our funding, but provide for that overflow that we are projecting and seeing in our schools as we matriculate from grade to grade. We did want to keep the model, which is in place, the Princeton model. I understand there's a discussion and pros and cons on that model. It is widely used nationally as a lot of districts reconfigured to this model. Districts that had 4 and 5, say elementary schools, all K-6, many have moved to a model like we have here. I mean, Greenburgh really is ahead in this model, although again, I understand and respect the differences people have. This is the model because what it does, and I'm sure you've heard this, it really plays to the strength of teachers. As a school district, you really, as a superintendent, and we can really look at the talent in our district and match that talent where they are best served. Put your very best teachers, all of our teachers are good, but all of them have strengths and some are better. So you really capitalize on that. And then you really get that central laser focus. Those teachers become experts at those grades, and those students are getting that match with the skill set of teachers and just that passion around that. Second, it provides the district more opportunity for more collaboration among grades because you have all that grade together. So when you have 4 and 5 elementary schools that are all K-6 and those grades are all spread out, it does present more of a concern or problem to get all of them together to collaborate and have common planning time to plan instruction. So it supports the instruction for those grade levels who are with teachers who are experts at that level and that they're all together. Can you think about it? We have right now we have 3 ECP teachers at the house. And then we have, how many we have at Jackson? But can you see how they never can really collaborate? They're not even in the same space. So it is a good model. The intent was not to change the model, but to increase capacity for our learning and our instruction and our teachers, but have our students all be more developmentally grouped so that as they matriculate from building to building, you really will see that difference. And I understand the concern about the transitions. We're not ignoring that. We have found in the research reports, the students are very resilient and they do well. They're there for 2 years. You're right, in that building. And I can see how it could be perceived as a revolving door. But children do well in this reconfiguration. Don't have any data in our district right now that says this model is not working. Our students, as they are moving and moving, they're resilient. By 6 months in that first year in that building, they have adapted and then they have a second year to really soar, and then they move to the next grade. We just don't have, and no data supports out there that this model doesn't work. So it's more the adults who see the transition more than the students. The students do well in this model. So, and they see themselves as really growing because they're going from a different building. It's almost like they see they're being promoted throughout the years before they get to middle and high school. So we were looking at that model, not next year. We will do this study, if whatever was decided, to kind of get the good data around that. So it can inform our decision. The data may come back and say it's not a good move. And so we will start with that and take a full year to plan it with meetings with parents, committees, and just get all that feedback. And if it was something that was decided and approved and supported, we will be looking at year 24, 25 when that reconfiguration. So it's no hurry. We're not trying to just push this, but we know we need to start thinking now, because as our enrollment is growing, we never want to wait until they're on top of each other. So it's planning ahead and projecting ahead, looking at that. We do need to do something, or either like we are talking, put a wing on Jackson. We do need to start looking at that, and we try not to wait until it's too late.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments on that? Mr. Simon? His mute button is sticking. There we go.
I'm glad to hear that. I was under the impression that this would be done in September or whereabouts. I'm glad to hear that will be input and there'll be data collection before that's implemented. So you had explained that this is a 2 or 3 year project, which is excellent, because in making moves like that, we have to think long term. We can't wait till the problem is right on us to make a move. So I'm glad to hear that this will be a longer term project where we have the opportunity to gather the data and then could make a good decision. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Simon.
Other comments, other questions? Okay. Smaller projects. Mr. Pugliese, can you quickly lead us through
I will.
the other things?
ECP main building, asbestos
Go back
abatement.
to the agenda.
Okay.
Nope. We're on page 3,
Page 3.
item 8.
Page 3, item 8.
There you go. Go ahead.
ECP main building, asbestos abatement on classroom tiles and vinyl replacement tile over the spring recess has been completed. Exterminators dealt with some problems several times this month. LF Jackson requested quotes for running electrical lines for 2 light poles at LF Jackson and Woodlands.
I'm sorry, can I stop you? When it says exterminator dealt with insect problems, you talking about the bees or hornets, whatever?
Bees several times.
Were there other insects?
Yes, the typical ants when it rains in the springtime.
But it was more seasonal stuff. Like
More
the
seasonal
bees
stuff,
and the
yeah, like-
ants.
Typically, we had a couple of hot days. There was no bees until the first 75, 80 degree
Right.
day, and they were swarming
Yeah.
the days you guys were there.
Yeah.
Now the weather cooled off, and I haven't heard any complaints in the last week or so.
Thank you for clarifying.
LF Jackson requested quotes for running electrical lines for 2 light poles at LF Jackson and Woodlands. Damaged boiler will be replaced as part of the energy performance contract at LF Jackson. Also over the secured leaning light pole and parking lot near northeast corner of the building. There was one of them that's been leaning for a couple of years, and it was fixed over the spring recess. High-view lead plate in classrooms and bathroom remediated over the spring recess. Closed opening between 2 office spaces on the first floor. RJ Bailey Abated asbestos tile in one classroom and installed new floor over the spring recess. Repaired a leaking roof drain and resecured and roof was resecured over the spring break. New wall pads cost significantly greater than estimated, seeking an alternative vendor. No change since last month. Curbs and sidewalks, plan to reduce concrete area north side of the building in spring, obtaining a cost estimate. Woodlands requested quotes for running electrical lines for 2 light poles at LF Jackson and Woodlands. We received a quote for upgrades for boys and girls room near the gyms, 60 to 70,000.
Yeah, and
Sorry, each
For the two of them.
for the two of them.
for 2. And we heard that there might be enough money in the 1.3 million if we're careful to actually cover this.
Maybe.
All right, so it might be in based upon.
The difference was in about 69,000 with the salary.
Yeah, but I just need some attention paid to proper planning. We know we have teenagers that do whatever.
Correct. Some smaller sinks where they can't sit on. I've been mentioning this to contractors.
Some really,
Mirrors over here.
Right.
Metal
Right.
mirrors.
Leaking boiler room.
Leaking boiler room. Hot water storage tank was leaking in the boiler room. It's been replaced. And we've added a new steamer that's been installed in the kitchen. The mansion, we had the BBS report. It's pretty comprehensive on the building, roof and masonry projects, bus garage. Consider repaving and electric vehicles charging stations in the long-term plan. We need a funding source for this program. Other districts have had success lobbying for funding rather than grant applications. For transportation director, New York State funding is an issue because buses are not district owned.
So that's where we're at right now. All right, so I can't see any, can you lower the screen a little bit so I can see if anybody has any questions? Oh, go ahead, Tracy.
so, there's a couple things, back to bathrooms, so even though we do smart planning, what is the contingency plan if and when there's some sort of,
Let me see the people.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
If and when there's some sort of issue, vandalism, broken stuff, are we going to have an option to lock bathrooms and have monitors, because we have monitors assigned to the gym, open the doors, like, start off with trust and respect and a conversation, but then are we going to move to protecting the investment that we're doing as well as the niceness of the environment, this whole point of redoing that area? And what is the plan for?
Correct, we'll have to come up with a plan with the
administration.
building administrator, with the administration.
And then,
What are the consequences of
Right.
somebody
Nothing's
like,
absolutely, I'm sorry.
damaging the building, like the new partitions came up and one was
Vandalism.
Yeah, yeah, so what are we gonna close the bathroom? Yeah, that needs to be a discussion for the administration.
some forethought is always helpful. Secondly, I'm wondering how often are people checking the campus? I understand there's at Leo Jackson, there's been some concerns as people who live right outside on the other side of the fence of cars doing wheelies. We've had that before, like kind of spinning around on our property, as well as like cars parked between Leo Jackson and actually the back of the Woodlands football field area near High Point. And I'm just wondering, like, how often do people kind of?
We've installed boulders recently to keep cars from driving through.
It's wonderful.
We did have a dune buggy that actually climbed one of the rocks,
What?
like a real dune buggy. It was on video. It's I believe it's
We gave them a
somebody
tip.
from one of the neighbors in the surrounding area. Somebody has a dune buggy. It wasn't a quad. It was actually a dune buggy.
So if we can see that on the camera, there's no identifying features where we can.
Not from the video that I was sent, no.
Okay.
So is this a matter of us needing to lock the stadium gate now?
Well, this is like through the woods.
And so they drove through the
They
woods.
drove through the woods to come.
So that's like, even that in itself is property damage. Ideally, we have
So how often-
identifiable license plate.
Yeah, because the vehicle probably doesn't have. a
Unless it's an off-road vehicle, in which case it doesn't have a license necessarily.
How often are people checking the campus? I know we used to have like employees live on campus, that was like responsible, I guess, part of the job was.
Well, this, a lot of these are happening during the day, 3:15, 4 o'clock, when there's students.
That sounds
in the building.
dangerous.
Absolutely.
So maybe this needs to be discussed to be safety and technology.
So like.
Maybe.
Order.
Tech, vehicles.
Yeah.
Move on.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, can we get an update on the vermin? I haven't seen any mice run through here.
No, that's the good news,
It's
yes.
feel good,
It's actually, it's actually much better.
wonderful.
Okay, Chris,
I know everyone wants to, like, okay, little bitty thing, the entrance sign to Woodlands on Hartsdale Avenue. There's a part of it that's just like a blank white slate, and it used to say "Y" is there on both sides. The sun has bleached it out.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if at some point it's a little bitty thing on the list, but if it could be added to the list of
with the,
campus,
with the new Wise Wings logo, right? Right.
yeah, I don't know who to talk to about getting the logo and the print and all that stuff, but.
Charlie Vasilevsky or Charles Fritz? I think Charles Fritz may have designed it or done it.
I have to reach out to.
Good, okay. Okay, so that's it. The end of the end of the agenda was what we covered earlier on. So I'm done. Does anybody have anything new they wanna bring up? Anybody online? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Right.